It's the weekend. It's Mailbag. It's also Everton away kit release day. That's when we're recording anyway. You might not be listening to it then. I am joined by Dan and Pete. First off, we'll have a little bit of discussion about the away kit. Thoughts on it? Anyone?
I love it. Absolutely love it. Again, you're actually wearing the original, aren't you? It's one of my favourite ever kits. So it's we didn't play too well in it, but it's still one of my favourite kits. I was only very young when it came out, but it was always a kit that I've always liked. So yeah, I'm made up with it. Hummels.
Yeah,
I
remember seeing us win 1-0 at Oldham in this kit. So they're fond memories. It's fucking freezing.
Good times.
Always.
Good times.
What about you, Dan? Good times. Yeah.
As I said on Twitter earlier, I think the guy who takes lettering off his shirts is going to make a fortune this season. Because I think it's bagging. You could stick that steak logo on Salma Hayek and I wouldn't go near her. It just ruins everything. It's a love. I love the collar. I think that kind of abstract pattern is really nice. I didn't like the home kit, as you know, Les. The Archibald Leach thing does nothing for me, if I'm really honest. A bit like with you and the Grand Old Team song, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I find that a bit bleh. But I think it's great. I think the shorts look good, and I think it's all. The goalkeeper kit looks good, actually. I really like that.
Yeah, I'll say that, doesn't it?
Yeah, goalkeeper kit's an absolute belter.
I mean, I managed to snag this year, just towards the end of the season, classic shirts, classic footy shirts. They had the two kits without the logo on in adult sizes, the pink and the yellow. And that yellow kit without the logo on, with the little simple tower logo and the little tower thing, looks great. I think that salmon pink kit without a logo on it would look absolutely mega. I think it'd be great.
I bought the yellow one without the logo on it. It's
me too.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
No,
I didn't know you could get them. Do you know what? I used to work in a place called Fitwell. Like they make the flags for me now. When I get flags done for the Everton Women's Supporters Club. And we had this spray. There's like this spray you can get. It's called transfer removal spray. Okay. You can actually get it on Amazon. And I might actually have a go, because that stuff basically it melts the glue and sort of melts the actual print itself and takes it off. The only problem is that on some materials it can stain. But I've seen someone on Twitter who's removing them.
Yeah,
and that's all he'll be doing. It's this transfer spray.
He's got that press, hasn't he? Like he's doing it on that.
Yeah, but he's not actually doing it on. I know he's not doing it on the press. I think he just does that for effect. But what he's actually doing is he's using it's this transfer removal spray stuff. I think it's Express. Just throwing that out there for anyone who wants to have a go. But I am not liable if it goes wrong.
The anniversary kit, the Sandro kit.
Yeah. Oh, God.
It is the Sandro kit, isn't it?
That's the Sandro kit. Well, I've got that. That's one of the few times I really love the idea of sort of retro. You know what I mean, and harking back to something.
I bought the whole kit.
Nice.
I've got the shorts and the socks.
I've got a name on the back of mine that needs removing.
Sandro.
No, it's a certain Icelandic man. And at the time, I was one of the few people that was really happy behind him, because I thought he was just class. I just think he's just a lovely footballer to watch. So in the sale, I was like, "Oh, sod it, I'll get his name on the back, number 10, nice bang." And then and then it went into a little corner of the cupboard of shame for a long time.
So did he?
Yourself some of that Express spray down.
But it must be like when you see the guys that do the custom trainers.
Yeah.
And they get the decals off, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it must be very similar, because it's only, as you say, it's only a sort of heat. It's only a heat press. So it's not like all you've got to do is basically dissolve that, because it's not like embroidered, or it's not massively. The glue they put it on with isn't exactly like super strong, is it? You know what I mean? So that might happen. Yeah, that pink one without steak on the front would look banging. Would look great.
If everyone wants to chip in for one, we'll buy one and do like a little experiment with it. What do you reckon? So I'm not spending 65 quid on the own.
Yeah.
We'll get the blue room to buy one. What they should have done, Hummel should have done as a bit of a solid there, and they should have put the stake logo on with the old like badge material that Umbro used to use that came off after like one wash. Remember on like the final season Umbro training kit, everything peeled off. If they'd used that, everyone would have been happy. I'm gonna carry on with the kit theme and go into one of my own questions. So I nicked this one from a Twitter poll that was doing the rounds last week. When the Hummel deal ends, who do you want next?
Kappa.
Oh, that was mine. Kappa, defo.
Kappa, the absolute, because as we said earlier, there is something so beautiful about terrible football teams in Italy having the best kits on the planet.
Yeah.
And
that
Venezia and Palermo are the absolute peak of two pretty shocking football teams who just have the most beautiful football kits on the planet. I mean, even though Palermo have just left Kappa and they're Puma now, but those Venezia kits are absolutely unreal.
This season's home one. I mean, I don't know if it's like the models they put it on, because that definitely helps. But this season's home one is absolutely stunning.
Have you seen that? They've got a brilliant video now on their Instagram, and it's a 75-year-old white-haired man.
Oh, this is the away kit, isn't it?
In the white kit you've got, Les, the white with the green and gold and orange. And he's got a pair of chinos and boat shoes on. And he comes out of this sort of little alleyway in Venice and jumps onto like a speedboat and just goes bombing through Venice like that. And he's got his Venezia kit on. And it's just like, oh, mate, this is amazing. You're crap. You're terrible. But their kits are just amazing. I'd love Kappa all day long.
Yeah, it's like me team shit. I know me team shit, but I look this good. So yeah, Kappa do like boss training gear as well, just everything.
But they've even got the Venezia. Have even got a rainwear collection on their website, which includes a green waterproof poncho, right? That's just got AFC on here, like almost it looks a bit like the Armani kind of thing, and it's just got a little hood with a peak on it. And then they do a beautiful distressed green bucket hat that's just got Venezia in orange.
You sent me that
string on it, and it's just like everything. Even their umbrella looks nice. It's just sort of you just look at it and you're like, and it's all stupid money as well. Have you been on their website? It's like it's
euros for the umbrella.
Yeah, but
tell you what, though, I would recommend everyone gets on there. That brolly's great. As we know, Pete, we're not brolly fans, are we?
Don't you darken my day with talk of brollies.
It's a nice umbrella. You know, it's going to be as impractical as any other brolly, but it looks good.
Yeah, sure it does.
We'll leave the brolly chat there, right? We'll just have
the one thing about Kappa, right? I agree. Kappa kits are amazing, and I do always associate it with Italian teams. But also I remember it was a Barca kit back in the day when Ronaldo, the original and best and proper Ronaldo, was playing for Barcelona. And I've got that kit from when I was a kid. So Kappa's always been.
That had the Kappa all the way down the arms, didn't it?
Yeah. That's the one, yeah. But the only problem is with Kappa is the other thing about having the badge all the way down. I also remember every time I think of Kappa, I remember those like really bad tracksuit bottoms with the poppers on them.
With the
poppers all the way down. Oh, I mean, I know people like sort of a bit of a throwback, but please don't bring them back.
You couldn't Magic Mike them though, could you? Because they were like elasticated at the top, so the poppers
only went
up.
They weren't all the way up, were they?
Yeah, so you could flip your legs off, but they'd still be hanging off the waist.
Popularize.
They just look like sort of polyester chaps, didn't they? In the end, if you just
basically,
as long as it's anybody but Castore, I just don't want that Castore business.
Did you see the state of the Rangers kit the away?
Yeah.
Do you remember Rangers had the salmon pink and blue away in the 90s as well? Castore had just done a version of that, and it's terrible.
Yeah, it doesn't help that Todd Cantwell's wearing it.
The what?
It doesn't help that Todd Cantwell's wearing it, and he just
doesn't. No, that doesn't help.
He doesn't look like a footballer. He looks like he was in a boy band in about 1998.
He 100% does. We're going with Kappa then?
I'd agree. I wouldn't be too disheartened with Kappa. I like Puma as well. I've always liked Puma.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in anyone like Nike or Adidas because they don't give you the personal touch. They just give you a like a template kit, like what they did with us, like what Nike did with us when they just gave us like a template kit with a white band and then couldn't be bothered. Yeah, so just added an extra like white band on the second season. They just couldn't be asked, could they? Let's be honest.
It was so bad.
Yeah, it was awful. But in fairness to Mike, that black and gold kit was stunning.
Oh yeah.
We were just talking about Puma, weren't we? Because we were talking about the billowing hugeness of Alessandro Pistoni's parachute shirt, weren't we?
Yeah. Do you know what? I think aside from that kit, the Puma kits were all pretty sound, weren't they? Aside from that one with the white down the side.
Yeah, was that the one that Alex Anderson was in? We had loads of white in it. The one where and Alex Niarco wore it as well when
it was like a Birmingham kit,
when the fan wanted to swap with him. Yeah.
ID said we've surely got to have Adidas once in our history, and Maggie said Hummel. So Maggie's in love with Hummel, I think. Gareth asked, with pre-season away days at Wigan, Bolton and Stoke, what's a former Premier League club you miss going to? Pete, I'll come to you on this.
Ooh. Do you know what? Back in the day, I used to like going to Middlesbrough, and for no particular reason other than I just liked going up there. It was actually, I think it was my first ever away trip with my dad as well, Middlesbrough. And I don't know why I miss it, because it was when we got beat 3-0 in the FA Cup, and we'd all left by half time. But I don't drink anymore. But when I used to drink, they used to do this thing called the Borough Bucket, which was like a 2 pints in one thing. And ever since then, I've always had a little affinity to Middlesbrough for some strange reason. Absolute hole. The stadium's really probably quite dated now, considering it was one of the early new ones.
It was, wasn't it?
But yeah, I don't know. I just used to like it. It's like going up to Newcastle, but without having to put up with Geordies.
That sounds all right. So get a Borough Bucket and a Parmo, and you're sorted.
Yeah. Although I don't drink anymore, so maybe that one goes out the window. Portsmouth was always a good little. It was a mission, like, but that was always a nice one to get to.
The only time I went down to Portsmouth, the only time I went there was when we drew 1-1. I think Fitz Hall or Paul Hall, one of them, scored in the last minute, and we went out on away goals. It was 1996, I'm gonna say, and it was like an all day. We got back to Birkenhead at 3 o'clock in the morning, and then got bollocked in 6-4 the next day. So I've not got fun, because we booked off in the afternoon. Not got fond memories of Portsmouth, to be honest. It is a get of a journey, isn't it? I'm just getting the championship table up because they're basically all the away days, aren't they? Norwich. No one misses Norwich, do they?
Hate Norwich.
Yeah. Chef Wed? I've never been there, actually.
Went there a few years ago in the was it 2 seasons ago in the League Cup? A night game. Yeah, went there. That was the first time I've been there, actually. Weird setup, really strange setup in the away end. There's like one tiny little like kiosk in the corner, and it's all kind of open behind the stand. Really, really strange. Obviously, hasn't not much has been done there. And nothing's been improved. There's been no kind of improvements on it. No, I don't. I'm not a fan. Not a fan at all of Sheffield Wednesday.
Sunderland, there's one.
Oh, Sunderland, yeah. Sunderland, I like Sunderland, yeah. Again, it's Newcastle without the Geordies, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. The North East would be sound. Dan, if you got any preference, QPR maybe?
Oh, mate, don't talk to me about QPR. Oh, it's like that stadium never ever ceases to feel like you're walking into something where Ray Winston is going to come around the corner with a load of snooker balls in a sock. It's like walking into a Borstal, that place, like a post-apocalyptic Borstal, and it's
Flash Sabutio ground.
I've never seen us win there. I was with you when I last was that.
Yeah,
last year League Cup.
Was that last season?
Last season League Cup.
Yeah.
Went out on was that when Begovic had about 20 penalties to save and didn't save one?
Didn't dive. Yeah, he didn't even dive for any, did he?
And then I got I came out and got sort of funneled into a load of QPR fans coming around the back of Westfield. And so QPR, that's just not my, but as you know, I live out here now in Suffolk. Been to see a lot of Ipswich last season.
Which is the one.
And it's a great little place to go and watch football. It's really, there's something a bit like Goodison about it. You know what I mean? It's a square, old-fashioned sort of, when it's loud, it's really loud. It's a bit, it's a bit rough around the edges, a bit dated and stuff, but they're a good little team. Kieran McKenna's doing the right things. He's just signed that kid from Chelsea, hasn't he, on loan? Omar Hutchinson, He's brought him in. And there's something quite nice about sitting in the Bobby Robson stand and seeing his smiley face looking down on you. It's quite nice, actually.
Quite wholesome. The one decent Geordie, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was thoroughly expecting us to have to play them this season, to be totally honest. I
think we all were, weren't we?
I was saying to my mate who's a season ticket holder up here, I was like, I'll see you next year. Do you know what I mean? It's just sort of like, so watching Nathan Broadhead destroy us. But QPR, no, man. No one misses that.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Maggie's asked, people who bring takeaways into the ground and then lash it on the floor mid-game, are they mings? Now, so what we do is we always get a chippy on the way up, and we do put it on the floor when we're finished, but then we take it out and put it in the bin at the end of the game. So, you're not going to finish your chippy after 10 minutes and go down to go and put it in the bin. So we know where else to put it. I'd say if they leave it at the end of the game, then they're a ming. If they take it with them like we do at the end, I think that's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah.
And it beats the shit out of eating in the ground as well. He's also asked, what task would you personally add to Gaffers Day? The more sick and twisted, the better. Dan, you're grinning at this one. Go ahead.
Oh, don't start me on this Gaffers Day nonsense, man. I muted it about 3 weeks ago. In my Twitter thing, I was just like, right, I'm muting the words Gaffers Day. And bleep test and someone puking their ringer up. You know what I mean? I'm just like, I can't be dealing with this sort of this sort of joyous, gravel-voiced Kettering masterclass of how to break human beings. It's not, it's not Tenko, for fuck's sake. But maybe they could just all learn how to pass the ball 10 yards.
I mean, that would be revolutionary, wouldn't it?
That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Just learn how to go from him to him, and him to him, and him to him, and just do that. Instead of this idea that Sean Dyche is sort of standing there with Steve Stone waterboarding, do you know what I mean? And going, get on with it, you bastard, and all this sort of stuff, and perspiration, not inspiration. Don't dare to have flair, and all this sort of stuff. You know what I mean? The Gaffers Day thing. It's sort of, I get it, and they were saying the other day we're going to be the fittest team in the Premier League, and they're going to need to be because there's only about 14 of them. And I admire that. I think it is something that gets very underappreciated. Is, well, the thing is, most coaches don't understand they've got 5 subs, do they? Especially Sean Dyche. There's that stat, isn't there, that he's like one of the sort of least using subs managers in the Premier League for the last 3 years or something.
It's perfect for us, though, isn't it?
So they're all going to have to.
It helps when you've got subs who can play football.
Who can do something, yeah. They aren't just sort of cardboard cutouts, but he's known not for doing it anyway. So these guys are going to have to run themselves into the ground every game. So being fit is exactly what we're not going to smash teams with flair and guile. We're going to have to. It's going to be very similar to last year. So there's going to have to be a lot of running stats. It's going to be pressing and running, isn't it? You know what I mean? And if that's how he does it, if that's how he kind of gets this mentality into. I mean, there was, in all fairness, and I'm not his biggest fan, but you could see a mentality shift last season. They didn't do what we've seen for countless seasons, which is just give in. And, they didn't have the talent, that was clear, but at least they kept going. There was an element of a group of players that were trying. And it's been quite hard, hasn't it, for the last few years to actually look at some of those players and say, do you think he's actually trying?
Yeah.
Or do you think he's gone full Morgan Schneidlin? You know what I mean? And
never go full Schneidlin.
Well, my passing stats are good, but I never go anywhere forward. But so I think, if Gaffer's Day is how he does it, then so be it. If that's how he's going to instill a kind of mentality of playing to the final whistle and everybody giving everything. And I don't, as I say, players like Decore and stuff like that last season, you could see that they were genuinely giving everything. And it's been so rare, that's, it's a cliche and it gets trotted out all the time, but that's all we ask for at the end of the day. We know we're not going to win anything. We know we're not going to destroy people with beautiful football, but all fans really ever want to see is a player that looks like they care.
Yeah.
And even if secretly in the back of their mind, they're thinking, I wish I was playing Champions League, or whatever. Oh, Saudi Arabia looks nice. You couldn't deny last season that, Abdoulaye Doucouré ran himself into the ground every single game. And it looked like it mattered to him. And I haven't seen that from him in a long time. So he's doing something right. The little Kettering wizard.
Kettering wizard? Like, that could be the title.
My tattoo, when I eventually do get my Sean Dyche tattoo that I promised to get, is going to have the Kettering pragmatist. That's what it's going to have underneath it. But as I say, I think there are players in that squad that clearly revel in that, aren't there? The Tarkowskis of this world, the Dwight McNeils that know him, that clearly revel in that kind of pressure and that kind of physical exertion. The players that don't, the players that can't meet those standards won't stay there, will they?
No, I'm happy with that, to be honest. Would you have any sort of medieval training methods if they had medieval training methods?
I'd go for. I'd just like to see a. Do you remember the TV show Gladiators?
Yeah.
Like the final. Like eliminate. Was it called the Eliminator or something? What was it called? The final one where they actually. Yeah, but I'd want them to do the entire assault course, like with the zip line going down, like jumping off the roof of Finch Farm and then going down the zip wire, and then having to run up that
treadmill.
Yeah, was it called the Travelator?
Yeah,
or something like that.
As Ian won Paul's boiling hot gravy down it.
Yeah. This is now we're talking. I was
actually thinking something along those lines as well, but more to Takeshi's Castle.
Yeah. With our injury record, I think Takeshi's Castle might be a bit too far though. Calvert-Lewin would be out for 10 years.
Little bit of a technical hitch there. My laptop paused up and the microphone died and Zoom died. But we are back now, and we were just saying about Gaffer's Day and what sick and twisted task would you give them. I did suggest naked Greco-Roman wrestling to Laura. I thought she'd be quite receptive to that, but she said it was filthy, and she was only thinking of making them run on the beach at Hoylake. So I think Laura has been kidnapped or her account has been hacked. Maggie's also asked, which player is most likely to eat the spiciest thing on the menu as a display of manliness, and who gets the ring of fire off salt? Andrew Millington replied, hot ones, Tarkowski and Godfrey. Godfrey, there's a name I've not heard in a while. And intestinal outrage, Keane, which kind of...
Yeah. He's proper... He's got the look of a chicken korma about him, hasn't he, Michael Keane?
Yeah. Chicken korma, factor 50. Who's having the hot ones then? An act of manliness, so that's someone who maybe they don't even like hot food, but fuck me, they're going to eat the hottest thing on the menu.
Jordan Pickford would probably have the hottest sauce, do a shot of it in his eyeball. He would. I think Pickford would probably. I think he'd probably do that, not even just to act tough, just because it's.
That's what he does.
Yeah, just because when
he seems. He seems to be an answer for everything every week, Pickford, doesn't he?
It's all in the question.
It is. I'd go with that. Greenie's on holiday in Mallorca. 70% of the holidaymakers are German. He's asked them, and they are. He said there's lots of St Pauli and Hamburg fans knocking about, and it could get lively. Have you ever been on holiday and there's been some tear up between foreign rival fan bases with no connection to the place that you stay in? I butchered that question at the end, but yeah. Have you seen the dust up while you're on holiday? I think the closest I came, we were in Bulgaria, and there's about 5 or 6 of us out, like sort of just after everywhere it kicked out, walking back down the sort of strip thing, and there was like just loads of people in the distance. So as we got closer, it turned out it was loads of women. So we realised this was like the local brasses lining up, sort of trying to get punters. So we thought, okay, right, hands in pockets, because we'd heard like that they sort of go through, they grab at your pockets and that. Sure enough, they're grabbing at our pockets and stuff. It was like in the distance, it was like, in Thriller when they see the zombies. It was like that, just in the distance. So we shit ourselves. We thought, well, we've got to go this way. There's no other way we could go. Carried on walking, got through, getting proper manhandled and sort of trying to drag us off and everything. It was fucking terrifying. But we got through, and then suddenly, I don't know, one of them must have kicked off on the other one, and it proper went off. Between all these, we just give it toes. Got in this taxi, and the second we got in the taxi, his meter just shot up. So like whatever, it was like the most on top taxi ever. It was like they planned the whole thing just to have us off. But yeah, that was quite scary. Football fans, but battling brasses, you don't want to be involved in that.
No,
that's what's going on Channel 5.
Battling brasses.
I used to work in a bar in Spain every summer when I was in sixth form and then college and that. And yeah, I've seen a few kickoffs there, but never anything really to do with football. Tended to be like just like, let's be honest, like young English lads abroad kicking off with, the locals wouldn't like it if they were trying to chat up the girlfriends and stuff like that. I saw loads of that, but I suppose the only football related one that comes to mind is not my story, but just reminded me of that one from a few years ago when there was that Man United fan who went all the way up to Scotland to meet a girl he'd met online. And it turned out it was 2 Scousers he'd met in Mexico. And it's like, as the story unravels, there's like a photo of him with a dildo in his mouth. And they reveal themselves. He said, yeah, this is like Emma, I think it was. He said, yeah, this is Emma. And the guy goes, that's not Emma. And he said, yeah, it's Emma. It's and yeah, it turns out it was the 2 Scousers. And the way they revealed it was, do you remember them 2 Scouse lads who threw you in the pool? So I think what had happened was,
oh my God,
it had all started over. Like I think they were like Liverpool fans, and he was a United fan, and they were trying to get him to sing Liverpool songs, and because he didn't, they terrored him, and then they didn't leave it there. They ended up, he drove for 10 hours to go to meet this girl in the middle of Scotland, and then when he got there, they were like, it's brilliant. If you haven't, surely everyone who's watching this or listening to this has seen that. I think the guy's name was Stuart Slam, I think. It's worth a watch. It's brutal, but it's hilarious.
That is brutal. Jesus. Would you drive 10 hours to see a bird you'd never met? No.
I wouldn't drive 10 minutes. Got stuff to do.
Dan, any dust ups abroad?
No. I keep all my fighting to strictly UK based.
After show parties and the like.
But no, I growing up where I grew up and looking the way I did as a teenager, you get very good at running, and then you get to a point in your life where you think, I can't run anymore. Sooner or later I've got to front end some of these people out, and then you get a lot of hide-ins. And then you go back to running again. many years ago, nothing football related. I was walking past a pub when I was living in Leigh-on-Sea, and I was at art college down there, and I was going through my kind of what I like to call the shaved eyebrows and surprise look. I was going through where I had a sort of pink quiff, no eyebrows, and I wore pretty much nothing but boiler suits. And I was walking past the pub in Leigh-on-Sea on about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and the door just swung open from the pub, and it just sort of bang, like kind of Wild West, kind of someone just boots the door open, and the geezer just walks 3 foot out off the sort of the out of the pub, and he fuzzes a pint pot at me.
Jesus.
Like a proper dimpled one with the handle on.
Yeah.
and he just goes, fucking weirdo, and just goes ping, and just pings it at me from across the street. And it was, fair play to him. It was sort of 30, 40 feet away, and he nearly got me. You know what I mean? It was the fact that he gave me the warning by shouting at me first that kind of allowed me to sort of proper Morgan Schneidlin it. I went like that. Like that. And it shattered into pieces like that. But there was a lot of that back in my teenage years. A lot of dodging, especially out in Essex. There's a lot of projectiles flying around. But nothing ever. I've never, luckily, touch wood. I've never. The only thing I've ever seen was when I used to go to Leyton Orient with my uncle. And because my uncle used to live over the back of the Orient, and his pub was a sort of local Orient kind of thing. And I remember going to a game when I was in my mid-teens, and we used to sit like 3 rows from the byline by the corner flag, and it was just around the time they'd started building the flats in the corners and stuff. And this guy used to come in every other Saturday. This guy would walk in through late, the game had been playing for 20 minutes, and he'd bowl in, come up by the corner flag, look up at the main stand like that, and sort of start doing all this business. Like all that. All this. And I remember saying to my uncle, I was like, and it was, you couldn't have painted a more cliche hooligan. He was head to foot in aquascutum. It was like something out of ID. You know what I mean?
Give it the big arms.
Yeah. Just, the kind of the aquascutum. It was before the days of heavy badge, Stone Island kind of vibe. It was all aquascutum, Burberry and all that. And then you'd look up the back, and these fellas would all get up. They'd all kind of get up and come down. I remember saying to my uncle, I was like, that geezer comes in every week, about 20 minutes late, tic-tacs up to the back of the stand with like semaphore and John McCririck stuff. I was like, who is he? He said, he's the leader of the local firm, and he's basically telling them how many are out there and where they're going for a tear-up.
It's a very weird little subculture, isn't it?
And he'd just go in, be late, tell them all up in the top tier where they're going by obviously long before days of being able to just text it, And I remember going to him, well, where's this happening? And he was like, well, it's probably happening over in Asda car park because it's miles away from where we are. You know what I mean? And it would take place over yonder because obviously they don't want it to be broken up or anything. But he would never stay. He'd come in, do all that, and then chip off. And then we might see him in the pub a few hours later or whatever, looking a bit worse for wear with a tear in his Burberry jacket or whatever. But that's the closest I've ever come to sort of seeing heavy football nastiness. Yeah. Luckily, I've never really lucky. I've never seen anything genuinely nasty or genuinely frightening. You know what I mean? And but that's all they were there for. They weren't. They literally leave. They'd never ever leave. They'd never be there. They'd always be off before half time. So it's proper park end vibes. But yeah, so that's the nearest I've ever been to sort of, and luckily I never saw it because I dare say it was brutal.
Yeah, I've never seen anything, but my dad's got some stories. The one that sticks in my mind from my dad is think I must have been about 2 or 3, and we went on holiday to Barry Island. This just happened to coincide with Everton playing away at Cardiff. Can't think how that happened, but anyway. So we're at Barry Island. My dad and his mate go to Cardiff to watch Everton. He said he stood in the terrace, and there's not many. I don't think there was many there. Stood in the terrace, and there's like Cardiff fans in the Everton end, like flashing knives and stuff, as if to say, right, you're gonna get it. So my dad and his mate's like, fuck this, let's get off. He walked down to the turnstile, and there's just rows of Cardiff outside the turnstiles, so they can't get out. So it was just like they just have to sort of ride the match out, and then when the busies came at the end thing to sort of see everyone off, they got out that way. But you got these kids like flashing blades in the away end, and then you try and get out, and there's just people waiting for you. Fuck that. Couldn't be doing with that. That's, yeah. Going to Everton's bad enough without the threat of death, to be honest. Mike's asked, when will we re-sign Tom Davis, and what will be your dad's reaction? Well, this star will be all for it, so here we go.
I think he'll just end up being named on the bench one day. We won't even announce it. He'll just
like, yeah, just never mention that he left again, and it'll be like he never left.
Yeah, I think that's probably what will happen. I mean, it is a strange one. You would have thought that the fact that he turned down the contract, you'd think that his agent would have had something lined up for him to go straight into. I find it really, really strange. Because as much as I wouldn't say, don't mean to be harsh, don't rate the lad. Obviously, he's a technically good footballer, technically proficient footballer. Certainly better than not having a club at all. You'd think a club, certainly even a club who's just come up, would be looking at him thinking, well, he's got a lot of Premier League experience. He's still young. He's a tidy midfielder. You'd think that someone would be coming in with a decent offer for him, but it's a strange one for me. I would have thought that he would have been snapped up. And as I say, it's on his agent, because his agent should have had something lined up the second that he turned down the contract. So it's a really strange one for me.
He seemed to just sort of do that thing. He just went on holiday immediately, didn't he? And it looked all very lovely. And then now he's just posting sort of stuff of him in a training camp, isn't he? Sort of doing that usual sort of, I'm back off holiday, I'm staying fit. As I say, as you say, I think it's very unusual that, there's a lot of teams where he could, and I hate the phrase, but he could do a job for, you know what I mean? And, me and Les are part of a sort of, a Tom Davis Appreciation Society that is, with a membership of 2. And, Warren said something a week or so ago on the subs, I think it was, where he sort of said, he kind of joins the list of a lot of perfectly adequate talent that's been mismanaged and badly. He was never really given a position. He was probably due a loan and didn't get it. And then, a plethora of managers have come through the door, all of which played him at some point. Everybody's given him a go. My dream is that he turns up in about 3 weeks dressed in a Venezia kit. And they announce him by him arriving on a gondola. That would just be I think that's the life he deserves. I think that's the life
it is.
Just him and the old man in the chinos tipping up on a gondola, and he gets off, pair of shades, Venezia kit on, espadrilles, the whole thing. I think that's his destiny. He's destined to wear Kappa, that boy.
Fingers crossed with Everton when we get Kappa next season. We got Stephen's asked, this is not an Everton related question in regard to what's your favourite terrible song? There's a song called Coming In Hot by Hollywood Undead, which is an absolute car crash. I listened to this last night. It is an absolute car crash. But when it comes on his playlist, he's got to listen to it at least 10 times. Anyone got a song that's just beyond awful, but you absolutely love?
I've got an affinity to Aqua, Dr. Jones. Dr. Jones.
That was a follow-up to Barbie Girl, wasn't it?
Yeah, and there's a good reason for this, because we made it into a chant for Aggie Beaver Jones, who was on loan at Everton Women last season. So we turned it into Beaver Jones, Beaver Jones, Beaver Jones, Beaver Jones is magic. And we just did it over and over and over again. So I had to, it's stuck in my head, so it has to be stuck in yours now. But yeah, Dr. Jones Aqua.
That is an absolute gem. And there is this week's mailbag karaoke as well. Cheers, Pete, once again.
There you go, Maggie. I never let you down.
Dan, what horrific record are you just like bang into?
I really like Joe Dolce's Shut Up Your Face. And there are multiple reasons. One, it's just bizarre in general. And didn't it keep Ultravox's Vienna?
Ultravox Vienna, yeah.
Which is also absolutely brilliant. It's the fact that somewhere Midge was sitting there with his little pointy sideburns and his pencil buzzing, waiting for Bruno Brooks to kind of do that. And straight in at number 2, it's Vienna by Ultravox. And he went, shit. You know what I mean? And he goes, and now at number 1, oh, what's somebody you? Hey, gotta know respect. Hey, like that. And he was just sitting there going, what is the fucking point? You know what I mean? I just love, and it's one of those songs that whenever it comes on, I never turn that song off. Because there's talking in it. There's a little bit in the middle 8 where he goes, I didn't tell my mother. And you know what I mean? And it's just absolutely stunning. It's just it's that peak of 80s novelty record. That there was that thing where, and it was all based around Brits abroad on holiday, wasn't it? All these records would be played in these sort of resorts, whether it was Black Lace or, Ride on Time by Black Box and all these sort of novelty records that were these one-hit wonders, all the Macarena and stuff, and Wigfield Saturday Night and all that. And they, these Brits would come back with this track that had been banging in like, Lanzarote all week, you know what I mean? And come back and make it number 1. And Joe Dolce, Shut Up Your Face is just an absolute bone of fun. I might have that as they put me through the curtains at my funeral.
That would be a belter.
That would be stunning. My uncle, diehard Spurs fan, had Chas and Dave's Tottenham song as he went through the curtains, which has got the incredible Ozzy Ardiles.
Oh God, yeah.
Where he goes
to Wembley? Is that it?
Yeah, Ozzy's going to Wembley. Yeah. He had that. He had the Tottenham. He had my mum made him this because my mum's a florist. She made him the Big Spurs Cockerel. So they had the coffin with the Big Spurs Cockerel and his Spurs shirt on. And as it started, I turned around to my sister and I went, "This is Ozzy Goes to Wembley." You know what I mean? Like, what the hell is this? Not my way, not kind of anything like that. And everybody kind of files away. Everybody sort of pays their respects and files away. And I stayed around just for the bit where Ozzy Ardiles goes, "A winning cup for Tottenham." And I just sort of looked at it and I thought, fair play, mate. That's an absolute belter. And then I joined the rest of everybody filing out. I just waited. Ozzy's on his way to Wembley. And I was just like, this is amazing. So you don't get that anymore, do you?
No, right. I'm having here we go. My funeral now, fucking.
We're going. What's yours?
So mine is Turtle Power, Partners in Crime. It's an absolute dreadful record, but I love it. It's the way it goes through the story of like the Turtles' origin and finding April O'Neil and all that. I feel like I should know it. So give me a line so I can place in the
it.
half shell there, the heroes for in this day and age, you could ask for more. That's the opening. So it's from the original Turtles film would that be the 90s?
Oh yeah,
sometime in the night from the very first Turtles film. Yeah.
Is it? It's not that TURTLE power.
That's the one.
That one.
Yeah. That's it, yeah.
Yes. Yes. Altitude. Love that.
It is a belt. And right, I need someone to do this for me. I need someone who can DJ too. There's a bit in that where the music is exactly the same as Rescue Me by Madonna. If someone could morph Turtle Power into Rescue Me by Madonna, that would be my funeral song. Well, I would be sent off happy.
Do you remember sort of like mid-2000s when the mashup was the thing?
Yeah.
When someone would take China in your hands by
Yes.
Japan. Oh. And then kind of blend it into some sort of like, fat boy sling thing, and then blend it back out to, 99 red balloons or something. You know what I mean? And there was this whole thing of the mashups, wasn't there? Where it was like people kind of taking all these sort of obscure tracks and blending them all together and stuff. So you could have one of that.
Milo did Drop the Pressure with Dr. Beat, and it was Dr. Pressure. That's a Belton song as well.
Gloria Estefan.
Yeah.
And the Miami Sound Machine.
Yeah. Belting bit of 80s crumpet, I don't mind saying. Stuart asked, what is the this podcast? I've said birds and crumpet. I'm basically Sid James at this point. Stuart asked, what is the best bar snack to have that doesn't ruin the flavour of your chosen drink? No double diamond salted nuts available. Dan, give us a bar snack. This is right up your.
There was this amazing pub where I spent a small amount of my childhood in Wales, and on the borders of Wales in Chepstow and Monmouthshire and Forest of Dean and stuff. And there was this pub owned by this couple, and at the weekend she would put roast potatoes on the bar.
Oh, that's good.
Like a tray of really salty, crispy roasties on the bar. And the thing about them was their surname was Orgy, right? And her husband's name was Richard, right? So locally, he was Dick Orgy. Right? But anyway, they're in this pub in Chepstow. And there is something uniquely. It's genius, isn't it? Because you load the bar with salty, hot, crispy carbs, right?
Yeah.
People grab a little paper plate. They take a little handful of roasties. Back in the day when people were just handing shit, just putting their hands
fingers everywhere.
Yeah. And go back to their pint, neck a load of salty hot roasties, and then basically immediately dehydrate and go and get another pint and more roast. And the thing is, the roasty is cheap as chips. Well, cheap as chips. There you go. But it literally, you're basically loading people with a snack that forces them to drink more for the cost of a bag of spuds. It was wicked. When we were allowed to drink in there, because they were weirdly, even though it was a sort of small town little thing, it wasn't like Hot Fuzz. It wasn't full of 14-year-olds on dark fruit or anything. So, and because she knew all our parents, we weren't allowed. You know what I mean? Yeah. Dick weren't having none of that. So, but when you were officially allowed to go in there, and then the pub up the road, there was another pub up the road, Cross Keys, and they had a landlord, and it was the first time I'd ever seen it, was the egg in a bag of crisps. So what? Pickled egg. Yeah. So someone would say to him, Simon, I'll have a pickled egg and a bag of crisps. So he'd the old crisps on a board thing.
Yeah.
So they'd pull a packet of crisps of what flavour, normally ready salted to go with your egg, right? He'd ping them a bag of crisps across the bar. They'd open it. He'd then, again, bare hands, plunge his hand into the earth, right? The pickled earth. He'd pull one of their slippery little things out, and he'd fuzz them across the bar at people, and they'd catch them like a baseball mitt in their Walker's Ready Salted, and then proceed to kind of mash it up and eat them like that.
That's very strange.
I never sort of partook in that kind of vibe because I'm not a pickled egg guy.
I've never had a pickled egg, but I kind of fancy this in a bag of crisps now.
Yeah, they used
I might fizz one across the kitchen later.
And then they'd sort of mash it up in the salty crispy crisps and sort of eat it like that.
Would the egg get mashed up as well?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not fit. A pack of the crisps will always make any sandwich infinitely better.
Yeah,
so I can understand the crisps. Crisps can instantly make any food like more bearable. But the idea of a pickled egg in some like fella's mitts, like launched at me across a pub.
What's your go-to crisp butty, Pete?
Crisp, literally any crisps. Do you know what? Right, if I was going to go, bacon crisps are particularly good on a crisp butty. So yeah, it's just that extra bit of crispiness in it, and like the nice flavour.
I tell you what's weirdly good: frazzles on white bread.
Ooh,
doesn't work. It does. I go to cheese and onion on white Hovis.
Co-op make a salt and vinegar crisp. I think it's technically cider vinegar with malt.
Of course.
But they make it's like co-op, but they are, those crisps that are both outrageously delicious, but also some form of physical torture.
Yeah, I know. They burn your mouth.
Yeah. And they are so insanely salty and vinegary that they make the sides of your tongue sore. And you know that weird thing in your jaw that twitches and goes a bit kind of like you got a cramp in your jaw or whatever. Them in a ham sandwich on a bit of crusty bread, mate. That is a banger.
That sounds good. I think my go-to bar snack is just pork scratchings.
Yeah.
Unbelievably salty and crackly, lovely.
Do you know the only thing that puts me off pork scratchings is when you get the odd one that's really, really soft.
Yeah.
Like when you get that like soft thing.
Yeah.
If there's too much of that, it's.
Yeah, you get some with hairs on, which is a little bit too sort of close.
That's off-putting as well, isn't it? Yeah. That's also off-putting. Yeah.
Right, we've got 6 minutes, 8 seconds left.
Snoop,
more or less, yeah. Liam, will a feral trolley turn up on the pitch at Goodison before we leave? I'm hoping there'll be a procession like the black cabs at West Ham. Do you remember when West Ham left Upton Park and they had all the black cabs on? I'm hoping for a procession of feral trolleys. For anyone who doesn't get that reference, by the way, I clocked years ago on the estate where my dad lives, that he lives between the estates between an Asda and a Sainsbury's, and there's always just rogue trolleys knocking about. So I started taking pictures of them, started this hashtag feral trolleys, and basically it's kind of got picked up around the world and people like post pictures of feral trolleys. So I've started the Instagram account at feral trolleys. So everyone give that a follow if you'd like to see trolleys in unexpected places. And who doesn't? Foxy's asked, what's your best poo-related story? Shame Dave's not on, which is true. Dave would have an absolute belter for this.
I've got one, but it's right. I don't have any kids myself, and I've got no interest in ever having my own kids. It just doesn't interest me. I don't mind them. They're great. I don't mind looking after them. I've got my goddaughter and my godson, and they're fine, great. But the thing about it is you can hand them back at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? Like they're fine for a couple of hours.
I get that.
But the crying and all that. Like when they're like little tiny babies, I don't mind them because they're sort of just there, aren't they? And they're all cute and stuff. But then they go through that stage where they just moan all. Anyway, these are my issues. But anyway, so the first time I ever looked, I was babysitting for my friend Laura and my godson Leo. And Laura had twins after Leo. So bear in mind, I had no experience of changing nappies. I'd had a very, very quick sort of show and tell on how to change this nappy before Laura left for the evening. And bear in mind, twins. Now, what I thought was it would be dead easy. Me and Leo will sit up and watch Monsters, Inc. And the two babies are going to be asleep, so it's fine. I won't have to do anything. It's easy. But what happened was that one of them decided to have a massive shit, right? But because they're twins, they're obviously like some kind of weird psychically, connected. So they are like one being in two bodies. So as soon as one of them had a shit, the other one had a shit. So I didn't know what to do because it was pitch black. So I went to turn the light on, but then realized it's gonna like one of them started crying because obviously when you turn the light on when it's dark, it's like So I had to turn the light off. So what helped was that when I opened this nappy, it was pretty much glow in the dark. It was like it was the most horrendous thing.
It's a terrible colour, isn't it?
I haven't seen Oppenheimer, that new film, but what the disaster that I saw in this nappy was, I can only imagine, is comparable to what happens in that film Oppenheimer. But as I say, but then I have to deal with two of them. So I'm in this dark room with the phone light, with my shirt up like over my nose because of the smell, balking like anything. One of them's laughing at me, the little shit. I managed to finally sort of get them both changed and like everything cleaned up and everything, and I was feeling like really accomplished. But then they wouldn't go back to sleep, so I had to get them both out of bed because they just wouldn't settle down. So I ended up basically sat on the couch with the two babies sat on me. Little Leo sat next to me, and Laura and Liam came in. I'm literally covered in shit and everything. And Laura and Liam came in like 5 hours later, like, "Are you all right?" And I was like, had like the worst evening of my life. But yeah, that was interesting. Also put me off having kids for life. So if I had any doubts whatsoever, that confirmed it. No kids.
I'm fine, but your kids threw a dirty protest, but it's all right.
Both of them at the same time, twins. Yeah.
My one quickly is when I was about 2, maybe 3. I was having a bath in my nan's and my uncle was in the bath with me. Anyone remember Pears soap?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like a sort of
amber,
brown,
amber kind of colour.
So, so basically, long story, no, not long story, but anyway, I did a shit in the bath and my uncle picked it up thinking it was Pears soap. And it wasn't. It was one of my turds. Anyway, yeah, there we go. I was 2, maybe 3 at the time. But, Dan, anything?
The PGL holidays you were forced to go on
yes, outdoor pursuits.
I didn't want to go
for a minute 15 left.
Right, I didn't want to go on it. It was in Dartmoor. I don't want to go to Dartmoor. It was really grim. So I held in a shit for about 2 days because I didn't want to go to the toilets and stuff. We then went orienteering on Dartmoor and I collapsed and was rushed to hospital.
Oh shit. Exactly.
Yeah, literally. Because I'd basically compacted my bowel and stuff and was basically poisoning myself because I didn't want to go to the toilet in this horrific place. So I held it in for like 2 days and basically I woke up in hospital. I collapsed on Dartmoor and some bloke carried me out of there basically. And I woke up in hospital and they were giving me laxatives.
Can't finish on that. So a quick yes or no from Laura's question. Is it acceptable to turn up to the golf in full golf rig out, currently surrounded by hundreds of golf yanks in full gear, heading to Hoylake? Dan, yes or no?
Golf rig outs rule.
Pete?
No.
I'm going to say no as well. Right, that's it for this week's mailbag. Thanks to Dan. Thanks to Pete. Thanks for everyone who sent questions in. We will catch you next